So let's change things up a little bit. So when it's initialized, we have to choose a plating in order to initialize properly. So we're passing right here by putting this in parentheses. We're saying that whatever is inside here is going to be put into here. And then we can reference that later. So we're going to say steel. So basically we're passing the word steel when we create a new, wait, no, we want a steel robot. So when we create a new robot, this one's going to have the word steel passed onto it, and that's going to be saved to plating. And we're going to have this one be diamond, and that's going to be passed to plating. So each of these are going to be different. So let's say at, let's make this a little bit clearer. Plating type. So plating equals, oh wait. So anytime we access any of these inside of our class, we need to use at. At plating equals plating type. So the second it's created, it's going to set the plating right here, this new plating one, to the plating type that we're passing through. So we pass it through as though it's a variable. Basically it's taking this word, it's saving it to this right here, and then we can reference it anytime we need inside of the initialization. So when it's passed through, it can only ever be referenced inside its def. So where it's def initialized, it can only be referenced inside here. So it can't be referenced over in a new def, like def new stuff, plating type end. So this won't work because plating type only is used here. It's not, there's nothing over here that has plating type information in it. It's only once it leaves this area, it's no longer, there's nothing in it. So just know that these ones are local only to this. So def plating, these ones, yeah, the at ones can be referenced anywhere, so just keep that in mind. So we're passing this information on, and it's only being used here. So we're setting the plating type when we create a new instance of this one. It's going to be steel, and it's going to be saved to the steel robot. With diamond one, it's going to be saved to the diamond robot. Very simple stuff. So def, we're going to create a new def. Def, let's see. I'll show you guys how to reference it. So def setup commands. So end. So let's go ahead and show you how to do this. Create variables without even having to use these. Variables that are made this way. Let's call this one see, what's a good robot thing? Number of eyes. Let's just go with how many number of sensors. So just name that one setup. Anyways, if we use at number of sensors and then we set it to something and it's not in this list, that's fine. But it cannot be read to outside access. It's basically the opposite of accessor. It cannot be read or written outside of the class. So you can't do this. You can't check to see what it is. You can't do anything like that. It's only works inside its class. There's ways to get around that. There's ways to make it a written one. We will go into that later. It's kind of redundant though. So checking out the stream. Which reminds me, let's see. Xavier. Okay. So yeah, I'll try to be done in 5 minutes, just because it sounds like a new stream will be starting pretty soon. So let's see. Finish off these lessons real quick. Number of sensors, plating equals plating type. So yeah, this one is the exact opposite of accessor. You can't read or write to it, but we can use it. So number of sensors equals 5. So right now, in order to call setup, we would just go to after here setup. So basically, once it's created a new instance of the class, it passes on this word to the plating type. We save the plating type to plating, and then we call setup. And by calling setup, we just jump down over to here, and it goes through all this. So whatever's in here, it goes through. And if we have another reference, if we're calling another def, it'll jump to that def. So basically, it's jumping from here and then running this code in here. So the reason why you would say do this instead of say this is because maybe you want at some point to reinitialize setup, and so all you'd have to do is call the setup again instead of having to create a new class or having to change a bunch of stuff. This allows us to just set it up to the default. So yeah, it's kind of like a way of hitting the restore to default button. By calling setup, we can restore to default. It would refresh the class, and we'd have the same class, but basically brand new version. Be a lot better, a lot easier. So that's one reason why you could do it. There's a bunch of other reasons. I'm sure there's some efficiency reasons, readability, things like that. It all just varies. You probably will find yourself not calling defs very much. Later on, you may do it more. So it all varies. Next is, let's see, setup. So we have your ability to call. I don't think let's not get into anything new with the time limit. So basically, you guys know how to make a class. You know how to have that class inherit other classes. We know how to save the class as something into a new variable, as well as initial and make a new instance of the class. We know how to pass information to a class on setup. Let's say number of sensors. If I wanted to pass information on, it would be the same thing. So I would pass 5 over to here, and number of sensors would be number of sensors. So yeah, by the way, if there is no symbol, but it looks like you're using a variable to the Ruby coding. In this case, it looks like we're using a variable to the Ruby coding because our variable's right here. They can be the same name. It's as long as the type is different, the variables can have the same name. So number of sensors equals 5. We don't really want to do that because it's a bit redundant. We already know it's nothing that needs to be changed. The reason why we use variables is because we want to be able to change them, access them, and all that stuff. So if we're not, if we don't need a variable, if we don't need to access the information, if we don't need to change the information, if we don't need to do anything like that, then there's no reason to have a variable. So keep that in mind. Yeah, this so far is what you've learned. You can at least create a new class, understand classes, understand how to save them. Let's see, Thunderbot, Firebot, inherent, how to initialize and how to set up, or call another def from inside. So I will definitely be able to get into more stuff. Next time, we will stop it on this note. So hopefully you've learned something and it wasn't too discombobulated. I know coding is one of the more difficult subjects. It does require a little bit more knowledge, like inventing. But for now, let's leave it at that. Let's hope, give it some practice, try it out, create your own little class, play around with it. It probably won't do anything. You probably won't have much of a function, but if you actually give it a shot, it should definitely work out well. You just won't, it won't do anything. That's all. Eventually we'll get to the point where it does something and we can access it outside. So thank you for joining. I believe Mordekaiser's on, or Torment's on next. I wish I could tell you for sure, but that's it. Thanks.